What's going on, guys? Anime One here, back here with another video, and today we're gonna discuss what if Naruto was neglected and ended up like Obito. In this what if, Obito is gonna die at the Nine-Tails attack by Minato's hand, and Naruto is gonna be Madara's grandson. So let's begin. Minato Namikaze, also known as the Yellow Flash of Konoha, was the fastest shinobi to ever live. His skill in taijutsu and ninjutsu were good, but he was master of fuinjutsu, one of the most rare arts studied because of its complexity. He was the master in space-time ninjutsu and invented a jutsu named Hiraishin no Jutsu and the Rasengan. He had killed over 1,000 shinobi in few seconds in the Third Great Shinobi War. His father, once great leader of the great Uchiha clan, Madara Uchiha, survived his battle with Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage, the wielder of the wood style, Kekkei Genkai. Madara, after the battle at the Valley of the End with Hashirama, started going away from Konoha due to his injuries. He walked through the forest for a few hours and was on the verge of dying from his wounds when he was found out by a woman who was very young and had blonde hair and sapphire blue eyes. She took him into his home and tended to his injuries. Madara woke up after 3 days as still gravely injured and looked around to find himself in a room on a bed and bandages wrapped around his torso and arm. He attempted to get out of the bed, but a loud groan escaped his lips. The door suddenly opened and the same woman he last caught a glimpse of in the forest came in and started checking over his wounds. At first, Madara had to say she was a beautiful woman with sunshine blonde hair and sapphire blue eyes that had deep emotions and a playful mischief in them. She was wearing a pink kimono that had hung her curves, and she walked with a grace that Madara noticed that could only be found in a kunoichi of noble clans. As he came back to his senses, he asked the woman, "Where am I?" To which the woman replied, "You're very injured, and I found you, so I brought you here to attend to your injuries," she said. "Thank you," Madara said. "May I ask who you are?" To which she replied, "My name is Miya Namikaze. May I know your name, gentleman?" She said. Madara nodded and replied, "My name is Madara Uchiha. Former leader of the Uchiha clan. I lost the battle against my best friend, Senju Hashirama, and was forced to flee the village, and then you found me. Thank you for helping me, because I would surely have been dead if you had not rescued me." Miya nodded in acceptance and began to check on his bandages. After finishing on his bandages, she gave him some food and a few medicines and leave him to rest. After a month of recuperation, Madara noticed that his injuries were too much and too great that he shall never be a shinobi again. He continued to stay with the woman's house and found out that she was of the Namikaze clan, a small clan back during the war clan era, and when she left, she was quite young due to her not liking violence he knew well about. She was kind and gentle nature and had some training in the shinobi arts. Many months passed, and Madara was tired of fighting and noted that he no longer had anything to fight for after the betrayal of his clan. He fell in love with the Namikaze woman that had saved him all those months ago. He married her after 5 years and had a child with her. His name was Minato Namikaze. He did not add his surname to the boy name due to the reputation of his father and to protect him. Madara had gone out to get some food for his wife and his 1-year-old kid, but when he came back, he found out that his wife was dead and his son was missing. To the coincidence, his son was taken up by the 3 legendary Sanins of Konoha. But Madara didn't knew that fact. He thought his child was dead, so he went to resume his plan of the infinite Tsukuyomi. Present time. Minato and his wife were going to have few additions to their family. Minato was ecstatic that he was going to be a father. Oh, how he wanted to train his son to be a shinobi so that they could make his old man proud. The seal on Kushina had held up pretty well, and just before the birth, Minato had rechecked and straightened it again, just to be sure. Suddenly, a nurse came out of the OT and told him that everything had gone perfectly well, that the children, along with their mother, were perfectly safe. Minato sighed a relief at the last part. Minato immediately rushed into the room with a wide smile that had broken across his face. He saw an exhausted Kushina lying on the bed, holding her precious children in her arms. He went there and took his two sons into his arms and smiled at her. Minato's first son had inherited his strong namikaze genes. The boy looked just like his father. The baby boy had inherited his father's blonde spiky hair and sapphire blue eyes. Well, he also had 3 whisker marks on each of his cheeks. And his second son was a boy with red spiky hair and blue eyes. Both of them were going to be lady killers in the future. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a masked man warped into the room through a vortex and launched a hail of kunai at Minato. Minato instinctively jumped back. Minato dodged all the kunais that were coming towards his way. The masked man took advantage of his position to speak a select few words before wrapping Kushina and himself through a swirling vortex. Fourth Hokage, I'll be taking the Jinchuriki from here. You should act fast, let's see, before your sons become a little. He paused for a moment, deliberately, crisp. The masked man chuckled before disappearing along with Kushina. Minato wondered for a moment if he was even sane or what he meant, but he took one look at the crib and his eyes widened. There were paper bombs sticking in the crib. Minato quickly grabbed his children before flashing away, and the whole hideout exploded. He took out 2 of his 3-pronged kunai with him from the table and used it to the horizon marker on Kushina's seal and teleported where she was. As he came to the clearing, he dreadfully saw that the QB had been freed and that, thanks to the gods above, Kushina had somehow managed to survive the extraction. But that was all he could thank them for, as she was about to get pierced by its claw. He picked her up bridal style and teleported to a nearby tree, escaping the attack. The masked man just laughed once again, in a childlike manner. You're fast. Fast as your name suggests, aren't you? Just like the story says. Yellow Flash, he chuckled. Minato gave him a death glare, that of a reaper, a virgin shinobi, an army killer, a gaze of a legend. The masked man had shivers running down his spine, seeing the icy glare that the fourth Hokage was giving him. Minato said nothing and teleported back to the house and laid Kushina beside Naruto and Menma and stepped back. His eyes glazed over what he would have to do, that how he wouldn't be able to see his children grow up. If only Kushina wasn't injured or Jiraiya was in the village, he could have subdued the Bizu and gone on to reseal it without any loss of life. But now there was only one seal that could be able to subdue as well as seal the Biju. But he had to turn on his own children into Jinchuriki and condemn them to the worst taboo right into his children. Minato was face to face with the masked man, and he had marked the man and stabbed him right in the heart. After he had marked the man with the contract seal. Fourth Hokage Minato, you might have managed to kill me, but there will be more like me in this world who will fulfill my goals. There are many ways in doing so, he said as he disappeared in a swirling vortex. Minato was looking at his younger son, Menma. The man had used the 8-trigram seal and sealed the entire 9 tails inside Menma. Since Menma had strongly inherited the Uzumaki genes, he would be able to suppress the full chakra of the 9 tails. But he looked at his other son. He had sealed the soul of the 9 tails inside of Naruto. Even when he knew that he was not correct, he thought of Naruto as the 9 tails itself. The boy with blonde hair ran into a wall that was many times taller than him. The boy's name was Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, the so-called demon of Konoha, because he holds the soul of the QB inside of him. a terrible monster which attacked the village of Konoha. The day he was born and the soul of the Nine Tails was sealed inside of him by his own father, Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage, the leader of the village. He knew that his father hated him, and the rest of his family did too. His mother, Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze, agreed with his father to abandon him because she believed that he had become the demon that he held inside of him. Naruto's younger twin brother, Menma, held the Kyuubi's chakra and he was treated like a hero for it. Naruto never felt love in his life, never truly smiled at anyone, or has anyone smile at him. He was sad. He never felt a joy for anything, including his own life. All his life he was hated, beaten, tortured, glared at, for something he had no control over. He never asked to be a Jinchuriki, nor did he ask to be hated. But even through all this, he kept a facade of wanting to protect the people of the village, even though they hated him, and he knew clear this and his way was only build his hatred for the villagers and his family, especially his family. They casted him aside like garbage and don't think about it twice. His parents cursed his name, even though they were the one who made him. Now, he was about to suffer another beating to the civilian and the ninjas of the village, all because of his father. "I found the demon," one of the villagers cried out. "This is the fate that you deserve," another one said. And this was where it all began. The beating seemed to have more people, meaning more pain he had to suffer. He balled up as he received his unfair punishment. The pain that he received was unmeasured. A 6-year-old boy shouldn't go through this. Nobody should. How they treated him made him no sense. His family abandoned him for something they did. The villagers hated him because of their ignorance. His hidden hatred for everything, for this world. Everything was against him in this world. He knew that. He learned at a young age that he lived for himself and only for himself. Even though he hid his feelings, behind the smile that he hates, all he wanted was love of his family, but he didn't got it. All he wanted was friends, he didn't got it. What was the meaning in living anymore? He didn't understood. But he lived under one motto he made for himself and never told anyone. Fight, live, and love only yourself. That's what it looked like to him until he met Madara Uchiha. After a few minutes, a man with large greenish flytrap-like extension engulfs his head and upper body, giving him a plant-like appearance. He has short green hair, yellow eyes, that his body had two different colors to them. His left side was completely white, while his right side was completely black. "Madara is not going to be happy about this," Black Zetsu said to his other half. "You don't think he will kill us, do you?" White Zetsu asked. "If we hurry, we can save him for our sake. I hope we aren't too late." Zetsu grabbed Naruto and took him into his folds of his cloak and sunk it to the ground with Naruto. Mountainside Graveyard. Madara was in his robes connected to the Geto statue as he started to cough. "I hope Zetsu makes it in time," Madara says as he coughs up some blood. "I can pray I can save my grandson." Just then, Zetsu emerged from the ground with the unconscious Naruto swung over his shoulder. "I retrieved him, Madara-sama," Black Zetsu said, "but based on his injuries, he won't last long. He needs blood transfusion immediately. Some of his flesh has been torn off and his skull has suffered some blunt force of trauma." Madara's eyes widened in horror and fear at his thought of losing his grandson. "And also, your other grandson didn't get any of your blood. Looks like the seal that he placed on Minato had broken when Naruto was born, and he was able to unlock the Sharingan," Black Zetsu said. Madara smirked, knowing his grandson will fulfill his plans. "Let White Zetsu cover up his right arm. I can tell that his arm is completely useless now. And also bring Hashirama's blood. I will heal him until then." Madara said. A few hours later, Naruto's eyes opened, and he saw Madara and Zetsu standing over him. Ah, your eyes have opened, young one. Where, where am I? Naruto asked. Madara Uchiha! Kurama roared in fury. I will fucking kill you. Ah! Naruto fell out of the table in shock and fear. What was that? Naruto looked at the ground frantically. Madara chuckled a little at his grandson's antics. That was probably the QB yelling at me, Madara said, chuckling. You see, he and I don't have the greatest of history together, Madara said again. I haven't seen you laugh like this. It's actually kind of scary, Black Zetsu said, sort of creeped out. That's because I haven't laughed like this in a long time. Madara got a sad look on his face. None since Mia died. Who's Mia? Naruto asked. His shock from Kurama's voice broke. She was my wife, and I cared deeply for her. Madara looked at Naruto. Now I'm sure you're wondering who I am and where you are, so I'll answer you. My name is Madara Uchiha, and you are at the mountain hideout near the Valley of the End. Why am I here? And why do you even care if I'll ever die? Naruto asked. You ask like I shouldn't, Madara said, surprised. Because most people don't care what happens to me. They'd sooner see me dead than help me. Well, I'll tell you who I am to you. As I said, my name is Madara Uchiha, and the reason I care what happens to you is because you're my grandson. I'm your what? Naruto shouted. Yes, you're my grandson. Your father was my son who I thought had perished with my wife during an attempt on my life, Madara said. How do I know that you're telling the truth? Naruto said suspiciously. You don't believe me? Madara asked. Many have tried to deceive the boy in thinking that they care for him only to treat him like dirt. Afterwards, Zetsu said. They treat him like scumbag, the boy who is now wary of everyone who he meets, as they might try to hurt him again. Black Zetsu continued. Show me, Madara said, as he looked into Naruto's eyes and activated his Sharingan. Madara saw it all. The neglect, the beatings that Naruto had gotten from his family. But there was one girl and her family who helped Naruto whenever they could. The family of Fugaku Uchiha, Mikoto Uchiha, along with their son and daughter Itachi Uchiha and Suki Uchiha, were the only ones who treated Naruto with kindness. Madara growled in rage as he read every paragraph and every word that dictated his grandson's horrible life. This doesn't even scratch the surface of Naruto's suffering. He's only been for 5 years long. He lived with his parents who didn't feed him anything. He tries to get enough food to eat decent meal for once every 2 days, and that if he was lucky. He has been beaten, bruised, poisoned, burned, suffocated, stabbed, and before all he could even barely walk. And don't get me started on the hospital. He has been there more times than most people will be there in their lifetime. And the care he received there was, let's say, bad. And that's putting it kindly. If not for the fox, he would be dead. All because of the fucking villagers. They can't differentiate between a kunai and the scroll that it's sealed in. Madara looks of rage, controlled into a loath and fury. How dare they! Madara unleashed a huge amount of killing intent. Naruto fainted and Zetsu was having some trouble breathing. Madara-sama, please stop. You're killing Naruto-san. Zetsu choked and Madara stopped his killing intent. And after a few minutes, Naruto woke up. What was that? Naruto asked. I'm sorry, Naruto. but they hurt you and I got so angry. I unleashed a bit of my killing intent. So, can you forgive me? Madara said. That was fucking awesome! Naruto shouted excitedly. You've gotta show me how to do that, Madara GG. We so like you, Mia. Rest in peace, Madara thought, as he watched his grandson going on and on about how cool he was. Alright, Naruto, settle down. Madara grew a tick mark when Naruto kept bouncing. Settle down, Madara roared. Madara released faction of his killing intent to shut Naruto up. Alright, now that I have your attention, it's time for me to begin your training under me. Before we begin, there's something I need to tell you. What is that, Madara Gigi? By the time that this exercise program is over, you will hate me and you will wish me dead, but in the end, there's one thing that you can argue with. What's that? Naruto asked. The results. When I'm done with your training, you will be one of the most powerful shinobi to ever exist, Madara said. Alright, Gigi, but what do I need to get started? First, I'm going to have Zetsu get you some weights, but in the meantime, I want to discuss about the Sharingan. That is your birthright. What's the Sharingan? Naruto asked. The Sharingan's ability consists of two parts, the Eye of Insight and the Eye of Hypnotism. The first Sharingan power is able to see chakra flow. The Sharingan itself gives color to chakra, allowing the wielder to differentiate them. They are also able to tell if the person is under genjutsu because the person's chakra flow would be irregular. Sharingan's second most prominent ability grants the user an incredible clarity perception, allowing them to recognize genjutsu and easily break out of it, though not to the same extent as the Byakugan. This also allows the user to pick up on subtle details, enabling them to read leaf movements and copy jutsu, Madara explained. What do you mean? Naruto said, tilting his head in confusion. In other words, you can copy hand signs, pencil movement, and see through pretty much any genjutsu placed on you or others, Madara said, dumbling it down as he remembered that he's talking to someone who is just 5 years old. I've got some awesome eye technique. I'm going to be Hokage for sure, Naruto said, thrusting his fist in the air. Hokage? Madara's eyes widened in shock. You want to become Hokage? Why? Madara asked. Because everyone will acknowledge me for my power, Naruto said. Even I can't be a Kage, and I know that that's stupid for trying to be one. Hey! Wake up to reality. Nothing goes as planned in this accursed world. The longer you live, the more you realize the only thing that exists in this world are pain, suffering, and futility. Listen, everywhere you go in this world, wherever there is light, there will always be shadows to be found. As long as there is the concept of victors, the vanquished will also exist. The selfish intent of wanting to preserve peace initiates war, and hatred is born in order to protect love. Naruto put his head down, letting every word sink in. From what his grandfather said was true, his life was a living proof of that. He looked at Madara. I understand that, but what do you propose? He asked. Madara looked at his grandson. He knew that he was very smart for his age, but he guessed that the circumstances led this to happen. He was forced to grow up at a young age. We are going to break the cycle of causes and effect, creating a world of only victors, with only peace, with only love, a world where only these things exist. We will create that world, Naruto. And how are we going to do that? Naruto asked. Madara looked at Naruto. Before I tell you my plan, I need to tell you about the incident that happened 5 years ago, when the Nine-Tails attacked the village. My student, Obito Uchiha, was the one who extracted the Nine-Tails from your mother. But unfortunately, your father, the fourth Hokage, killed him and sealed the nine-tailed inside of your brother and the soul inside of you. Madara said. He looked at Naruto, who was showing no emotion. So that's why they hate me, huh? Even if they were the one who sealed the nine-tailed inside of me, Naruto said in an emotionless tone. Madara looked at the boy. Don't worry, the soul will eventually return to its chakra. In simple language, it's only a matter of time that you have the soul of the nine tails inside of you. To make the process faster, I'll break your seal, and since you're not linked with the nine tails and you don't have any of its chakra, it won't kill you, Madara said. I think I understand. I promise I'll do what you ask of me. Just then, Zetsu walked in with some weighted clothes. I brought the weighted clothes as you asked, Madara. I'm ready to begin Naruto-sama's training whenever you are. Excellent, Zetsu. Good work. Now, Naruto. Madara turned to Naruto with a sadistic smile on his face. Shall we dance? Done. This is a new fanfic, so I hope you guys like this chapter. I'll upload almost every single day of this fanfic if you guys like it. If you guys did like the video, please like and subscribe. It's really appreciated. See you in the next video.